Hi there, and thank you for coming to my first ever video here on my channel. My name is Tommy, and I just wanted to say thank you for being a subscriber. If you are a first timer and never seen any of my videos, welcome as well. Obviously, you're probably here for the description, which is the behind the scenes of how the Hagrid's motorbike adventure was made. Just to let you know, this is a Planet Coaster recreation and not the actual ride in Florida. I wanted to put together this how-to video because I posted this ride about 2 weeks ago, and I put in the description kind of how I made the ride. If you're a Planet Coaster fan, I did a lot of stuff that you don't see in Planet Coaster. I did a lot of editing and try to explain everything, but also mentioned that if I didn't explain myself well enough, I'd make a video just to give you a little more clear understanding, and got a lot of response for that. So here's the video that I'm doing right now. Obviously in Planet Coaster, there's no forwards and backwards track switches. You can't do drop tracks or everything. And again, as I mentioned, there was a lot of editing to be done. So I'm going to show you how I kind of did all of this by creating 3 separate tracks. I also want you to know that I do 2 recordings. I do one here on my Macintosh computer, which I have Adobe Premiere. I do all my editing and sound as well. Now, when I play the game Planet Coaster, I'm actually on another computer, on my PC computer. So you might hear some difference in sound quality with the microphone, and that'll be why, because I'm actually going back and forth, showing you different views and angles. I wanted to make this ride because it just seemed really fun. I'm from California, the ride's in Florida, and the only way I got any idea of how this is made is just watching POVs of people. Obviously, what you're seeing right now is the POV of the ride I made, but what I did is I went to YouTube and I watched other people's videos like this. This is the actual ride that I got a lot of the ideas from, as far as like the buildings, the track, you know, the little pieces here. And that's how I did it. Now, to get everything to scale, I actually went on Google Maps, and what I did is I found like maps like this, which showed an overview of the actual land. It doesn't look like Google updated it, so this is still under construction, but it gave me a good enough sense of, you know, the size, the proportion, and what I would need to do to scale it down to make it as accurate as I could. So what I did is I went to Planet Coaster, and I did an aerial shot of the whole land. And what happened was, let me close this out here real quick, is I took the aerial shot that I took from Google, and I placed it on the map here. Well, actually, that's something else, but here's the map that I took. I drew out the way the track was in different colors, and I placed it on the map. And then on the actual game piece, I took the big screen monitors. I took the big piece, the 32 foot one, I believe, and I put them all across in the grid, and that gave me the idea of how the size of the map would be. So that's how I got the proportions right with that. Another way I was able to figure out the dimensions of everything of the ride is there's a website right here that I found that actually had a 3D model of the whole ride in its completion, and I was able to use this. Here, let me open it up real big. This is pretty cool. I was able to use this to figure out where things went, how it was made. It was a really cool tool to use to create everything. Now the track was tricky, like I said again, with the editing and so forth. So let's jump into the PC computer, jump into Planet Coaster, and I'll show you how all that was done, and we'll get this ball rolling. Here we go. All right, so here we are, the aerial view of the coaster, along with the tracks and everything that it designed. You'll notice that there's some floating buildings. Obviously, there's no backs to them, and there's a lot of missing stuff. I don't build full lands anymore. What I do is I just build from the POV perspective of everything. So if you were down here on the ride and looking up, this is what you would see. You would just see, like, you know, these buildings from the one point of view. and you wouldn't see anything behind. So without all those pieces being built, it saves on the FPS, which is pretty cool. So what I'm going to show you right now, obviously the ride has been built, the video has been put out, so this isn't a piece by piece build or a speed build like most people do. They start from scratch, record it. So I'm kind of doing it the opposite. But I just wanted to show you real quick what everything looks like. This is the land. This is the main track. This is where you start in the station. And it does the full track. And then when it gets to the point, my computer's freezing. I don't know why it's glitching like this. When it gets to the point where you hit the top of the track and you start going backwards, that's where this track comes into place right here. And I'll show you how I did that in a second. And then after the backwards motion and it stops into the cave area, which is right here. This is the part where we come backwards, and I think we stop about right here or so, and then we go down to this level. And this is where we switch tracks, and then we take off and we do this thing all the way to the very end of the ride. Come around here and do that. So again, everything was done from a POV point perspective because I knew I wasn't going to upload this on Steam because there wasn't no reason to. It wasn't a full working coaster. Okay, here's what everything looks like if we were to ride the very first track. And now we're we're on our way. All right, let's get the POV point of view here. So here's the ride. This was a half-made coaster station. Again, I did everything from point of view, so I didn't go into full detail to make all the necessary pieces and everything that you would see on the ride. I just did everything from the straight-on camera view. And this is how the ride takes off. And I don't know why my computer is glitching like that, so we're just going to have to deal with it. Go around the corner. You can see that I did all the landscaping as if the trees were pretty much more in bloom. Right now I think all the trees on the actual coaster in Florida are halfway built, or halfway grown I should say. Everyone got a kick out of this butt fire animatronic. And then we take off to this part right here. Again, sorry for the glitches. I don't know what's going on with all this. Everyone was asking too about the track. How come you didn't use the triangle track? I did use the torque coaster, so the triangle track wasn't offered. I just used this track, so I know that detail was missing as I mentioned in my description. So for all the hardcore fans that were asking me that, sorry, that's all the game allowed me to do. All right, so now we're getting towards the end of the track, and this will be the first edit. Now we're gonna take off here. It's gonna launch us to the top. We're gonna stop, and now we're gonna come backwards, but we're gonna come backwards on the same track, but then that part right there that thrusts us forward is gonna thrust us back again. And that's where the editing comes from, where we use the second track. So if we look at this first track here, you'll see that the coaster just keeps on bouncing back and forth because it doesn't take us all the way back. I did make these interchangeable tracks to add some realism. If you go on the actual ride, this piece here will switch with the curved piece, and then that will allow the coaster to come back all the way. And that's where this piece came from right here. So what I'm going to do real quick is take this coaster. Well, let me show you what I did real quick. This is how I did the recording of it. On the second part of the track where you go backwards, it needs to come all the way back. It does that circle right here. And then it comes into the cave. And this is about where the cave entrance would be. This is the break here where I made the coaster slow down. And now once you're in the show building, the train slowly comes backwards, just like in the real ride, and it'll stop about this area right here. What I did is I created a thrust, just enough speed, I kind of calculated it, where it'll be fast enough to go through this brake section here and this brake section here. and still getting enough momentum to come to this part right here where I'm going to start recording and edit. So when we are on this first part of the track and it stops and comes backwards, we jump onto this track here, and it'll take us all the way back. It'll slow us down right here, which we needed. And to continue that motion, I had to bring the track down to about a 3% dip. So if you look, we're going down about a 3% incline or decline. So once it slows down here, it'll still slow down, just where I need it. And the train will stop about right here on this brake part to complete stop. And that's where I'll edit. So now we want to move this track over to this location over here. So now that we got the track in place, here's what we did. We're going to start the ride. And we're going to do it from the POV view. And this is how it works. You get enough thrust to get the track, get the car going. And here's what we'll see. Now, none of this is being recorded. This is just to get the coaster where we needed it to get at the end point. And of course, all that track right there, I edited it out and fixed everything. Don't mind that part. Okay, so you get to the top, and now we switch tracks on the video, and we come backwards, and we ride this whole part all the way towards the back. We'll go around that back circle up here. We'll hit that brake where I hit right here. That slows it down, and to keep the momentum going, I took the track and I went down to a 3% decline. And I also did the time piece also where we could get darkness, and that's how it got darker all of a sudden. And we go to the very end here, and then we're going to stop where the brakes are, and it brings us right to where we wanted, which is perfect. And that's how we got to that second part. The third part was the launch. So let me go backwards a couple parts here, and now we get to the third piece of track, which is right here. And this is going to take us to the launch. It's going to take us up this curve here, and it's going to take us to the very end of the ride, which is right here. And that's where we see the horses and all that. And I'll show you what that looks like right now. So we hit stop. And here's what we got. Now this part was tricky. I had to built it right above the other track, so when I did the drop, you see everything just like as you were in real life. So this part I basically just sped up here. I applied a brake system right here, so it would be very slow when I did the editing. As you can see up here, that's where the track would have been. And about right here, I hit start, and it launched us off. And if you look to the very right, I had fire right there, but that was in a different blueprint. We go up this hill. We get to the end of the ride. There's a lot of missing pieces here. I had about 3 different blueprints that had different track pieces. So that's why it looks a little sloppy right there at the bottom. You can see back here the buildings that were floating, but from this perspective, it looks all together right there. All these 3D animations, I have the description and links to the people that made them. If you want to download them, they were awesome. I love them. They worked out so great. And this is how the very end of the ride worked out. Now, of course, this track won't go towards the beginning because it's a different track. But this is where I slowly faded out the video and added the screens here, so you wouldn't see this part. Faded it out to a black. And that's how I pretty much did the track. Okay, and here we are back on the Mac where I do the sound and video editing with Adobe Premiere. So this is Adobe Premiere. Here's pretty much everything. These are the bits that I recorded, that I put together. I'll show you in a second. This is the sound. By the way, someone went on the Hagrid's ride and took their iPhone and rode the whole ride with their iPhone against the speaker and was able to record the ride. That's how I got the audio for the ride. So I was really happy that I found it because I was trying to find other recordings and it just wasn't working. It was just, the sound was crappy, and someone did it, and I took it and ran with it, and that's how I was able to get the sound. So here's real quick, like the first part of the ride. I took the POV of this, and the second part and the third part. This is the final, how it all looked, when you watch the video. I did that. I took it all the way to the very end where the track stops, comes back, and of course what I just showed you a few minutes ago is where I edited that part right there. I'll show that to you in a second. What I didn't show you was the drop part. And I placed the camera pretty much similar where it would be, and I pretty much did a test where I went up and down, up and down. And here I go from up. Yep, there we go. We go down below, and you can see, whoop, I went a little bit underground there. And then I came back up again. I just pretty much did a couple up and downs just so I could, see what the best speed would be. But that's how I did this part right here. I just took the camera, went up and down, recorded that, and hit stop. And that's how I recorded that area. Now when I bring everything here into Adobe Premiere, this is what the video looked like. I added the my little Tommy T production there. Everybody sees that. A good friend of mine made that for me, by the way. He's a great 3D designer. He was able to make that for me. I was really happy with that. And here we go with the editing. So let's fast forward to the part where I did the track switch. So here comes the first edit right here. If you look down where I'm kind of moving the arrow, you'll see where I do the split edits. A lot of people were like, I didn't even see the edit. Where did you do it? And here's where we do the edits. This is the track going forward. This is the first track. We're still in the first track. Now we're going backwards, and about right here is where I do the edit cut. And if you could see, it goes from that to there. There's a little bit of a jump. So right here, we're on the first track, going backwards, and then right here is when I do the second cut. So that was a good edit. No one really noticed that one right there. Now we're going backwards. And here's another fun thing too. You'll notice right here, the track piece is on the other side as if you were on the right. If we're going forwards, when I did the recording, I had the straight piece right here. But when I did the other recording going backwards, I switched the pieces, and now it looks like if we were on the right in real life, that piece changed, and now we're able to go backwards. And we're going back. So let's do that. We go all the way back. This is probably the trickiest part right here to get this to go straight. Like I just showed you, I did that recording of the up and down. I'm going to zoom in a little bit right here, where I did a little bit of the fading. This is the ride right here. This is the track where we stopped. And now I go into the drop right here that you see. And so that was a pretty good edit. You could kind of see a little bit how it switches just a tiny bit. If you notice, like the little moving pieces up here, it has a little glitch. But that's where I do that edit. And then I bring the third track. So there's really three edits. There's the track going backwards here, then the drop, and then the edit to the third and final track where I kind of slowly fade it in. You'll see like how I fade it in right here. If I didn't fade it in, it would look like this when we did the edit. It would just go boop like that. So I did a little bit of adjusting. And if we go backwards, everything put together. Track 2, going backwards into the drop. That's the edit. And we slowly come up to the third and final section where we go slow, and then we start taking off, and the fire takes off, and then here we go. And this concludes the third part. Now right here too, a lot of people didn't notice this on the ride, but see that little fire right there? I guess there's a dragon's fire part. If you rode the ride, you'll see like this little flame of fire that kind of follows the ride. Can't really see it too much right there, but it's a little added thing that I put that no one really noticed. But if you go on the ride, it's actually there, the smoke and then the fire. And I think Hagrid mentions it, like, watch out for the dragon fire, it has a kick. And that's how you do it. That's pretty much editing process right there. So hope that answered all your questions. I hope I did a fairly decent first video for my first time. If you enjoyed it and you want to start seeing more videos of how I do things, I'd be happy to do it. I'm not as smooth as the veterans out there that have been doing this for years and years, but hopefully I was smooth enough to get this video out to you guys and you enjoyed it. Please stay tuned and subscribe to my channel. I do feature more videos coming up. I've got a lot of ideas in mind. I've got some movie coasters in store too for everybody. So keep posted. Keep subscribing if, again, you're a new member. And again, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you soon. Bye, everybody.